Explain slide 19. Victor Langford blinked, neither loudly, nor dramatically, just half a second. But half a second is enough when a man realizes the slide behind him is no longer a presentation. It is evidence. I sat at the far end of Orion Vale Systems boardroom, watching my boss stand beneath my stolen AI deck with his name glowing on the title slide. Prepared by Victor Langford, Chief Strategy Officer. The room saw a visionary. I saw a thief with a laser pointer, and behind him was the one slide he should have deleted. Slide 19, Instant Denial Engine. A feature I had rejected 3 weeks earlier because it was risky, biased, and legally radioactive. But Victor did not know that. He had copied the deck. He had copied the charts. He had copied the language. But understanding does not copy-paste. So when Nadia Vale, Briarstone Mutual's Chief Risk and Compliance Officer, leaned forward and asked him how the system prevented unfair claim denials, I closed my notebook, because that was the moment the thief reached the locked room. My name is Camille Foster, and this is how my boss used AI to steal my presentation. Walked into the biggest meeting of his career, and lost everything trying to explain one slide he never created. Orion Vale Systems was one of those companies that loved calling itself disruptive, because confused but well-funded did not sound as good in investor updates. We built AI tools for insurance companies. Fraud detection, risk scoring, all the things executives like to describe as innovation until regulators asked them to explain the details. Then suddenly everyone remembered they had a technical team. I was a senior AI risk architect, which meant I spent most of my life standing between ambitious executives and lawsuits they wanted to call product features. My job was not just to make AI systems work. My job was to make sure they did not quietly punish people who already had less power, less money, less time, and fewer lawyers. Victor Langford hated that part. Victor loved AI the way some people love designer watches, not because he understood the machinery, because it looked expensive on his wrist. He was tall, polished, and permanently relaxed in a way that made people trust him before they realized he had said nothing specific. He could walk into a room, use the phrase next generation intelligence layer, and somehow make 3 vice presidents nod like they had just been baptized by innovation. He was not stupid. That would have been easier. Victor was worse than stupid. He was fluent in confidence, fluent in optics, fluent in turning other people's work into his own leadership narrative. I had worked under him for 11 months. And in that time, I had watched him develop a special talent for appearing near ideas once they became valuable. Before value, he was monitoring progress. After value, he was driving strategy. Before applause, he was busy. After applause, he was available for the photo. The project he stole from me was called ClaimGuard AI. It was designed for Briarstone Mutual, one of the largest insurance carriers in the country. Briarstone handled millions of claims every year: home damage, auto accidents, disability coverage, small business interruptions, all the private disasters people send into a corporate machine, hoping the machine remembers they are human. The problem was not just fraud. Fraud existed. Yes, but fraud was not always a villain in a ski mask. Sometimes fraud was a pattern. Sometimes it was a strange claim history. Sometimes it was a cluster of small inconsistencies. Sometimes it was a customer in crisis uploading the wrong document at 2 a.m. because their basement had flooded and their child was crying in the next room. That was the danger. An AI system could catch fraud faster. But if designed badly, it could also deny legitimate people faster. Victor did not care about that difference. To him, faster was always better. To me, faster was just speed. Direction mattered. ClaimGuard AI had taken me 5 months to build. 5 months of modeling claim histories, auditing bias patterns, writing risk thresholds, arguing with data vendors, and explaining to executives that the AI decided is not a legal defense. I had built the system with 3 levels. The first level flagged suspicious claims. The second level ranked them by risk. The third level sent high-impact decisions to human review. That third level mattered. If an insurance claim could affect someone's housing, medical coverage, income, or legal standing, ClaimGuard AI was never supposed to deny it automatically. It could recommend, it could flag, it could summarize, But a human had to review, that was the line. And I had defended that line in every meeting until I was tired of hearing my own voice. Victor called it friction. I called it not destroying someone's life because a spreadsheet got ambitious. 3 weeks before the Briarstone presentation, Victor asked me to send him the deck. Just for Polish, he said, leaning against my desk like we were in the same movie and he had cast himself as mentor. I looked up from my laptop. The deck is not ready for executive review. It looks ready. You have not seen it. I trust your standards. That was how Victor operated. Compliment first. Grab second. If manipulation wore cologne, it would smell like Victor Langford. I'll send it after technical validation, I said. He smiled. Camille, don't over-engineer the process. Briarstone wants vision. Briarstone also wants compliance. Compliance is part of the vision. That sentence meant nothing, but he said it with enough warmth to make it sound like leadership. I did send him a version later that week. Not the final version. A working version, a deck with comments, revision notes, and rejected slides moved to the appendix. On of those rejected slides was slide 19, Instant Denial Engine. The name itself made me uncomfortable. Victor had suggested it during an earlier brainstorming session. What if ClaimGuard can deny obviously fraudulent claims instantly? He had asked. I said, define obviously. He said, the AI would know. That was when I knew we were in danger. The AI would know is what people say when they want technology to carry moral responsibility so they do not have to. We tested the concept anyway because testing bad ideas is sometimes the fastest way to bury them. The results were terrible. On paper, the instant denial engine reduced processing time by 42%. In reality, it disproportionately flagged claims from customers with inconsistent documentation histories, which often included elderly claimants, low-income policyholders, people with limited English, and customers filing after regional disasters when paperwork was chaotic. In short, the model was fast because it was unfair. A cheetah running in the wrong direction is still a problem. I killed the feature. I documented why. I moved it into the rejected appendix with a red note, not approved for client presentation. Bias exposure requires removal. Victor apparently saw only 2 words, instant, engine. And like a raccoon discovering jewelry, he could not help himself. My first real warning came from Sasha Monroe. Sasha worked in product operations and had the rare gift of making bad news sound like gossip you were lucky to receive. She stopped by my desk the evening before the presentation holding a paper cup of coffee and wearing the expression of someone who had just watched a raccoon open a bank account. "Camille," she said. I looked up. "Number, you haven't even heard me. You said my name like something is already on fire." She pulled a chair beside my desk. Victor asked Noah for the boardroom upload credentials. I stopped typing. Noah Park. She nodded. Noah was our junior data analyst, brilliant, anxious, and still young enough to believe that when senior executives asked for something, there was probably a legitimate reason. Why would Victor need upload credentials? I asked. Sasha gave me a look, the kind of look women give each other when the answer is obvious and disappointing. He's presenting tomorrow. I'm presenting tomorrow. Sasha took a sip of coffee. Are you sure Victor knows that? My stomach tightened. I opened the project folder. The final deck was still there. My name on the title slide. My notes intact. My version history clean. But there was another file, uploaded 26 minutes earlier. Briarstone Final Executive Evil PPTX VL Victor Langford. I clicked it. The title slide opened. ClaimGuard AI. Enterprise Claims Intelligence for a Faster Future. Prepared by Victor Langford. My name was gone. Not moved. Not reduced. Gone. There is a special kind of silence that happens when someone steals your work before your eyes. It is not dramatic. It is not loud. It is your body realizing your brain needs a second. Sasha looked at my face and whispered, "Oh, I'm going to need you not to go to jail." I scrolled. Slide after slide, my charts, my diagrams, my language, my risk framework, my implementation plan. But worse than the theft was the editing. Victor had removed half the caveats. He had deleted the human review explanation in 3 places. He had moved slide 19 out of the appendix and placed it in the core product section. Instant denial engine. He had added a tagline beneath it, reduce claim leakage through automated decision closure. I stared at the sentence, automated decision closure. That was not a product feature. That was a lawsuit wearing a name badge. Sasha leaned closer. Is that bad? I laughed once. Not because it was funny, because my nervous system needed to release something before I cracked a tooth. Sasha, that slide is so bad it should come with its own attorney. She whispered, so what are you going to do? I did not answer immediately. The younger version of me would have stormed into Victor's office. The exhausted version of me wanted to go home and scream into a pillow. The strategic version of me opened the file history. Victor had not just stolen the deck, he had uploaded it under his own account. He had stripped comments. He had renamed the file. He had moved the rejected slide. He had built the evidence for me and Gift wrapped it in arrogance. Sasha watched me export the version history. Camille, yes, you're smiling? No, I'm not. You are. It's not a happy smile. It's the kind of smile a printer has right before it ruins someone's day. I downloaded both versions, saved the metadata, exported the rejected slide log, copied the model validation notes. Then I emailed everything to my personal archive. Not company secrets. My own work history, my authorship trail, my proof. After that, I printed a clean packet and placed it in a blue folder. Not black, not gray. Blue, the color of trust, compliance, and corporate people pretending not to panic. Sasha tapped the folder. What do we call this? Documentation, she shook her head. Number, this is revenge with tabs. The next morning, I arrived early. Too early. The office still had that artificial calm buildings have before ambition wakes up. The lights hummed. The coffee machine blinked. Somewhere down the hall, someone was microwaving something that smelled like regret and onions. Noah Park was already at his desk. That alone told me he had not slept well. He looked up when he saw me. Camille. Morning, Noah. His eyes dropped to my folder. I think I messed up. I softened. That was another flaw of mine. I could be furious at a system and still feel bad for the person it used as a tool. What happened? Victor said you approved the executive upload. He said he needed the final room version. Did he say why he wasn't getting it from me? Noah looked miserable. He said you were too deep in technical edits and he didn't want to bother you. Sasha, appearing behind me like a caffeinated spirit, muttered, Translation, he lied with posture. Noah looked ready to dissolve. I'm sorry. You did not steal the deck, I said. But I need you to tell the truth if legal asks. He nodded quickly. I will. Good. Then I went to the boardroom. It was already set up. 12 Orion executives, 3 Briarstone representatives, 2 legal observers, 1 enormous screen, 1 stolen deck. Victor stood at the front, laughing with Helena Cross, Briarstone Mutual's CEO. Helena was not what I expected. Some CEOs enter rooms like they own the building. Helena entered like she had already read the inspection report and knew which walls were load-bearing. Calm, elegant, dangerous without trying. Beside her sat Nadia Vale, Briarstone's chief risk and compliance officer. Nadia had a short silver bob, a tablet, and eyes that made small talk feel like perjury. Marion Bell, our CFO, sat near the middle of the table. She looked practical, polished, and deeply allergic to wasted money. Elliot Graves, our general counsel, sat beside her. Already wearing the expression of a man who could sense liability before it entered the room, Victor saw me and smiled. Camille, perfect. Take a seat. We may need you for technical support later. Technical support, I almost admired it. A man can steal your house and still ask you to hold the flashlight. I sat at the far end. Victor began. Thank you all for being here today. Orion Vale Systems is proud to present ClaimGuard AI, a transformative leap in insurance intelligence. He clicked to the next slide. My architecture diagram appeared. Victor placed one hand in his pocket. He always did that when he wanted to look casual. It made him seem like the kind of man who had never waited for a bus in the rain. For months, he said, my team and I have been developing a system that will redefine claims processing. My team and I, interesting phrase, heavy on my. Light on truth. He moved through the first section well. Of course he did. The opening slides were easy. Problem, market opportunity, fraud losses, processing delays, customer frustration, charts with upward arrows. Executives love upward arrows. They make complexity look obedient. Then he reached the model explanation. His rhythm shifted. Just slightly, he began reading more, looking back more, using words carefully but without relationship to each other. ClaimGuard uses a multivariable intelligence structure to determine suspicious claim probability through integrated pattern recognition. That was my sentence after someone had put it through a blender and charged consulting fees. Nadia asked her first question on Slide D. How does the model distinguish between suspicious inconsistency and documentation gaps caused by crisis conditions? Victor smiled. Excellent question. Executives love saying excellent question when they need time to locate the exit. The system accounts for that through contextual analysis. What context? Claim context. Nadia's pen stopped moving. I looked down at my notebook. Do not smile, Camille. Not yet. Victor recovered by moving quickly to the next slide. That was his first mistake. People who understand can slow down. People who perform need momentum. He clicked through the dashboard mock-ups. Then the efficiency projections, then the implementation timeline, and then it happened. Slide heavy filled the screen. Instant denial engine. Reduce claim leakage through automated decision closure. The room became very still, not because everyone understood the danger, because Nadia did, and when the compliance officer becomes still, everyone else should consider prayer. Nadia looked at the slide for a long moment. Then she looked at Victor. Explain slide F&D. There it was, 2 words. A door opening under his feet. Victor blinked. Half a second. But I saw it. His smile returned. Absolutely, the instant denial engine is one of our most exciting innovations. It allows ClaimGuard to identify high-probability fraudulent claims and close them without unnecessary manual intervention. Helena Cross looked up. Close them means deny them. Victor paused. In practical terms, yes, in specific high-confidence cases. Nadia leaned forward. How does the system prevent unfair denial of legitimate claims among vulnerable customer groups? Victor lifted the laser pointer. I have no idea why. Maybe when men like Victor panic, they reach for small glowing sticks. The engine relies on advanced confidence scoring. What inputs determine confidence? Multiple inputs. Which ones? Victor's jaw tightened. Behavioral patterns, documentation irregularities, historical claim signals. Nadia's face did not move. How does the model handle elderly customers, disaster zone claimants, language, related document inconsistencies or customers with limited digital access, silence? Small, sharp, expensive. Victor looked at the slide again, then at the laptop, then at me. There it was. The silent request. Save me. I closed my notebook. The sound was soft, but Victor heard it like thunder. I raised my hand slightly. If it helps, I said, I can explain why slide 19 should not be in this presentation. The room turned. Victor's face went pale beneath the expensive lighting. Helena Cross looked at me. And you are? Victor answered too fast, Camille Foster. She assisted with some of the modeling. Assisted? Some. Modeling. 3 lies and 6 words. Honestly, efficient. I looked at Helena. I'm Camille Foster, Senior AI Risk Architect. I designed the ClaimGuard Risk Framework, built the validation protocol, and authored the technical deck this presentation was taken from. The silence changed shape. Victor laughed once. A dry little sound. Camille is being modest. This was a collaborative effort. I looked at him. Then collaboratively, you should know slide 19 was rejected. Nadia's eyes sharpened. Rejected why? Because the instant denial engine created a high risk of unfair claim denial among protected and vulnerable customer groups. It performed well on speed because it removed human review from the exact cases that needed it most. Marion Bell slowly turned toward Victor. Elliot Graves stopped breathing professionally. Victor said, "That is an internal technical interpretation." "No," I said. "That is the validation result." Helena cross-folded her hands. "Mr. Langford, were you aware this feature was rejected?" Victor's smile had become a hostage situation. "The slide represents a strategic direction. It represents a failed test," I said. He turned toward me. "Camille." Just my name, but the warning inside it was loud enough for every lawyer in the room to hear. Elliot Graves finally spoke. "Victor, let her answer." That was the first crack. Small but real. Nadia looked at me. "Do you have documentation showing the feature was rejected?" "Yes," Victor said. "This is not the time." Helena Cross said, "It became the time when you presented it to my company." That sentence landed clean. No echo, no drama. Just impact. I reached into my bag and placed the blue folder on the table. Victor stared at it. The way guilty men stare at paper like paper has betrayed them personally. Elliot Graves leaned forward. Version history rejected slide log. Bias validation results. Email requests. Metadata for the final deck and the executive version Victor uploaded this morning. Marion Bell said quietly, "Metadata." "Yes," Victor swallowed. Beautiful word, metadata. "Sounds boring. Ruins lives." Nadia looked at Helena. Helena nodded once. "We need a recess." Victor stood immediately. "I agree. Camille and I should speak privately." "No," Elliot said, one word, flat. "Final." Victor looked at him. "I am her direct supervisor." Elliot adjusted his glasses. At this moment, that is part of the problem. The room went silent again. Victor sat down. That was when I knew. The room had stopped orbiting him. We took a 20-minute recess. Victor left first, phone already in his hand, probably calling whoever powerful men call when consequences start using their full name. I stayed in the boardroom, Sasha texted me. "Are you alive?" I replied, "Define alive." She responded, "Did slide 19 explode?" I typed internally. She sent back 11 fire emojis, a skull, and one message stationary with consequences. I almost laughed, almost, but my hands were shaking now. Not from fear, from delayed impact. People think revenge feels like power the whole time. It does not. Sometimes it feels like nausea with good evidence, because exposing someone does not erase what they did. It only stops them from controlling what happens next. And for a moment, sitting alone in that boardroom, I felt the weight of all the times I had minimized Victor's behavior, when he repeated my ideas in meetings, when he asked me to soften warnings so they would not slow the room down, when he told me I was brilliant, but too attached to precision, too attached to precision. Imagine telling an AI risk architect that accuracy is a personality problem. That had been my flaw. I kept translating disrespect into misunderstanding. I kept thinking if I made the work excellent enough, the truth would defend itself. But truth without documentation is just a witness with no microphone. When everyone returned, the room had changed. Victor did not go to the front. He sat beside Elliot, looking like a man trying to appear calm while his future searched for a side exit. Helena spoke first. "Briarstone remains interested in the concept behind ClaimGuard AI. But we cannot evaluate a product through a presentation with disputed authorship and rejected technical content." Marion nodded. "That is understandable." Victor jumped in. "I want to clarify. There is no disputed authorship. Camille's technical work supported my strategic presentation." I opened the blue folder, not dramatically. Just enough. Elliot saw the first page. His face aged 3 fiscal quarters, I said. "The original deck was created under my author profile 6 weeks ago. Victor requested an executive review version. Yesterday evening, he downloaded that version, removed comments and technical warnings, moved a rejected appendix slide into the main presentation, renamed the file under his initials, and uploaded it as the final client deck." Victor said, "That is a malicious interpretation." "No," I said, "that is a sequence." Nadia's mouth moved slightly, not a smile, but close. Marion looked at Victor. "Did you remove Camille's name from the title slide?" Victor hesitated, and in corporate rooms, hesitation is blood in the water. I standardized the presentation for executive delivery. I looked at him. Standardized is doing Olympic-level work in that sentence. Someone coughed. It might have been Sasha outside the door. It was not Sasha, but I chose to believe it spiritually. Helena turned to me. Miss Foster, can you present the correct version? Victor's head snapped up. I strongly advise against changing presenters midstream. Nadia looked at him. Mr. Langford, you could not explain your own slide. He had no answer, because it was not his slide. And deep down, everyone knew it now. Marian looked at me. Camille, can you present the approved claim guard framework? Yes. I connected my laptop. The screen changed. My title slide appeared. ClaimGuard AI Responsible Claims Intelligence Framework prepared by Camille Foster Senior AI Risk Architect for a second. I just looked at my name, not because I needed applause. Because names matter, credit matters. A name on a slide is not ego, it is accountability. If the system failed, they would find me. So if the system worked, they were going to see me too. I began. ClaimGuard AI is not designed to deny claims automatically. It is designed to identify risk, prioritize review, and protect both the insurer and the claimant from bad decisions made too quickly. Nadia started taking notes again. Good sign. I moved through the actual framework, the 3-level model, the human review gates, the bias audits, the disaster condition exceptions, the documentation support flags, the appeal pathway, the audit trail, the model monitoring schedule. I did not oversell. I did not pretend the system was magic. I said what it could do. I said what it could not do. And I said where human judgment had to remain. That was the difference between Victor and me. Victor sold certainty. I built trust. Helena asked hard questions. Marian asked how much implementation would cost. Elliot asked whether my governance controls were legally sufficient. For 42 minutes, I answered, not perfectly. Perfect is suspicious, but clearly precisely. Honestly. And by the end, nobody was looking at Victor. The contract was not signed that day. That would have been too simple. Briarstone requested a revised proposal with my framework as the basis, my name as technical lead, and a written guarantee that no automated denial function would be implemented without external compliance review. Helena stood. Miss Foster, this was the presentation we expected. I said, it is the presentation I prepared. Victor stared at the table. His silence was not humility, it was calculation. After Briarstone left, Marian asked me to stay. Victor stood. So should I. Elliot looked at him. Number Victor's face hardened. This is absurd. Marian's voice went cold. Victor, go to your office. For the first time since I had worked at Orion Vale Systems, Victor Langford had nothing polished to say. He picked up his laptop and left. Not gracefully. Grace requires options. The moment the door closed, Marian turned to me. How long have you suspected this? I looked at the blue folder. Long enough to prepare. Elliot asked, why did you not come to legal before the meeting? I could have softened my answer. I did not. Because when people like me report people like Victor too early, it becomes a personality conflict. When Victor presented rejected content to a regulated client, it became evidence. Elliot looked uncomfortable. Good. Comfort had protected the wrong person for too long. Marian nodded slowly. We will investigate. I know. Until then, do not discuss this with staff. I will not spread rumors. Elliot noticed the wording, but if someone asks whether I authored ClaimGuard, I will not pretend I assisted with my own work. Marian almost smiled. Almost. That is fair. By noon, the office had developed a weather system. People whispered near printers. Messages flew through private chats. Calendar invites vanished. Victor's assistant looked like she had witnessed a murder performed in business casual. Noah avoided eye contact until I walked over to his desk. He looked up, pale. I told Elliot everything, he said quickly. I told him Victor asked for the upload credentials. I told him you never approved the renamed deck. Thank you. I should have checked with you. Yes, I said gently. You should have. He winced. But Victor lied to you. Learn from it. Do not carry his weight for him. Noah nodded, then he whispered, is he getting fired? I don't know. Sasha appeared behind me again. I know. We both looked at her. She shrugged. I don't know officially, but I saw Elliot walking toward HR with the face of a man about to make paperwork cry. That afternoon, HR called me. Of course they did. When your boss steals your work, HR wants context. When you expose him, HR wants urgency. Aaron Klein, our HR director, sat across from me with Elliot. Aaron had the kind of voice people use when they are about to say something legally careful and emotionally useless. Camille, he began, we want to understand your experience. My experience is in the folder. But we also want your perspective. My perspective is that Victor removed my name, presented rejected material, misrepresented the product to a regulated client, and attempted to minimize my role in front of executives. Aaron blinked. That is very direct. I have had a long morning. Elliot opened the folder. The investigation moved faster than I expected. Because the evidence was not emotional, it was digital. Version history, access logs, download timestamps, renamed file, deleted notes, removed authorship, moved slide, uploaded final deck. Victor had left fingerprints everywhere. Arrogance is careless because it thinks the room belongs to it. By the next morning, Victor was placed on administrative leave. The internal email said he was temporarily stepping back from client-facing strategic responsibilities. The building still has walls, but his office is haunted. Sasha read the email over my shoulder and whispered, temporarily stepping back. They make it sound like he's taking a yoga class. I said, maybe accountability is stretching him. She pointed at me. That is going in the group chat. No, it is not. It already did. The days that followed were not easy. That part matters, because revenge stories often make the reversal feel instant. It was not. Victor's allies started whispering that I had set him up, that I had embarrassed Orion in front of Briarstone, that I had been waiting for a chance to take his role. Ona, senior director, told someone I was brilliant but dangerous. I laughed when Sasha told me. Dangerous means documented when they expected disposable. Still, it hurt. I will not pretend it did not. There were mornings I sat in my car before work and had to convince myself to go inside. There were nights I replayed the meeting and wondered whether I had been too sharp, too cold, too ready. Then I would remember my name erased from the title slide, and I would feel steady again. Forgiveness is generous. Amnesia is expensive. Briarstone sent its revised requirements 3 days later. They wanted claim guard, but with conditions. Camille Foster named as technical lead. External audit rights. No automated denial layer. Human review gates locked into implementation. Direct access to Camille during pilot deployment. Written governance protections preventing strategic leadership from altering risk controls without compliance approval. Marion called me into her office. Elliot was there. So was CEO Elise Hartwell. Elise rarely appeared unless something mattered or something had gone wrong. This was both. She was calm, composed, and impossible to read. Camille, she said, Briarstone trusts you. I did not rush to fill the silence. A month earlier, I would have said something like, they trust the team. Not today. Yes, I said. Elise studied me. Marion believes we can recover the deal if you lead the revised proposal. I can lead it. With support, with authority. The room went quiet. There it was, the real ask. Not title, not apology, authority. I continued. If my work is client-facing, I need final approval on technical claims. If my framework creates liability protection, I need governance control. And if my name is used for trust, my role needs to reflect that trust. Marion nodded. Elliot wrote something down. Elise asked, what role would reflect it? Director of Responsible AI Strategy. Nobody spoke, so I added, and I report outside Victor's chain permanently. Elise's expression did not change. Victor is no longer part of Orion Vale systems. The sentence landed softly. No thunder, no applause. Just an ending dressed as administration. I looked at her. Effective when? Yesterday evening. Sasha would have loved that. A career ended before breakfast, Elise continued. His separation is confidential. The investigation found policy violations involving authorship misrepresentation. unauthorized alteration of technical materials, and conduct creating client risk. Elliot looked tired. That told me Victor had fought. Men like Victor always fight the mirror first. Elise slid a document across the table. We are prepared to offer you Director of Responsible AI Strategy, effective immediately, with compensation adjustment, project authority over ClaimGuard, and approval rights on external AI risk materials. I looked at the document. Then at Marion. Is this real authority or decorative authority? Marion answered before Elise could. Real. I signed. Not because Orion suddenly deserved my loyalty, because I deserved ownership over work I had already carried. The revised Briarstone proposal took 10 days, 10 long days, but this time the right people were in the room. Noah rebuilt the performance tables and double-checked every source. Sasha managed the implementation timeline like a woman personally offended by chaos. Elliot reviewed the governance language. Marion handled pricing without pretending legal safeguards were optional. And I led the technical strategy. No one called it support. No one called it assistance. No one called it collaborative when they meant invisible. The final presentation happened 2 weeks later. Same boardroom, different atmosphere. Victor's absence sat in the room like an empty chair, nobody mentioned. Helena Cross joined with Nadia Vale and the Briarstone legal team. I presented not dramatically, not with revenge in my voice, just clarity. Slide by slide, risk by risk, control by control. When I reached the section where slide 19 used to be, I paused. The new slide was titled Human Review Gate for High-Impact Claims, I said. The system does not deny high impact claims automatically. It flags, explains, prioritizes, and routes. The final decision remains reviewable, auditable, and accountable. Nadia nodded. Helena asked, and if future leadership wants to remove that gate. I clicked to the next slide. Governance lock, material risk control changes require joint approval, I said. Then future leadership will need compliance approval, client notification, legal review, and my signature. For the first time, Helena Cross smiled. Good, that was it, good. But in that room, it felt like a standing ovation with better posture. Briarstone approved the pilot, $12 million for Phase 1, potential expansion across 3 divisions if ClaimGuard met fairness, efficiency, and customer appeal benchmarks. Sasha whispered, "Nobody touch me. I am experiencing shareholder value." Noah laughed so hard he almost dropped his laptop. For the first time in weeks, the room felt human. 6 months later, ClaimGuard passed the pilot. Processing time dropped. Fraud detection improved. Appeals did not spike. Bias audits stayed within approved thresholds. Customer complaints went down in 2 vulnerable categories because the system flagged documentation support needs instead of punishing missing paperwork. That mattered to me more than the contract expansion. Though the expansion was not small, Briarstone signed a 3-year rollout. $46 million. Victor had tried to sell speed. I sold trust. Trust paid better. There was no celebration party. I refused. Instead, Sasha organized a small dinner with the team at a Korean barbecue place where the table smoked. The music was too loud, and nobody used the word synergy even once. Noah raised his glass. To Camille. I shook my head. To the team. Sasha narrowed her eyes at me. Careful, that humility almost sounded like regression. I laughed. Fine. To my name staying on my work. Everyone raised their glasses, Sasha added, and to slide 19. Noah said, "May it rest in pieces." Later that night, I returned to the office. I do not know why. Maybe I wanted closure. Maybe I wanted to see the boardroom without Victor standing in it. The room was dark except for the city lights beyond the glass. The screen was blank. No stolen deck, no laser pointer. No man trying to wear my competence like a rented suit. Just silence. I stood where Victor had stood and looked at the far end of the table where I had sat that day. That version of me had been scared, angry, overprepared. Quiet, but not weak. Never weak. There is a difference between silence and surrender. I used to think being excellent would protect me. It does not. Excellence gives people something to steal. Structure protects you. Documentation protects you. Witnesses protect you. Authority protects you. And sometimes, yes, A rejected slide protects you too. Today, slide 19 is not framed in my office. That would be too dramatic. It is printed and tucked inside a drawer. Every now and then, when someone suggests removing a safeguard because it would make the product more efficient, I open that drawer and look at it, just for a second. A private reminder: some mistakes are not failures. Some mistakes are bait that arrogance mistakes for opportunity. People ask if I plan to ruin Victor. I always say no, because it is true. I did not plan to ruin him. I planned to protect my work. Victor did the rest. He could have kept my name on the deck. He could have asked me to present the technical section. He could have read the notes. He could have removed the rejected slide. He could have told the truth. But people like Victor do not fear being wrong. They fear being ordinary, so they steal brilliance and hope nobody asks for the receipt. That was his mistake. Because the receipt existed, with timestamps. The last time I heard Victor's name, someone told me he had joined a smaller company as an eye transformation advisor. I almost felt sorry for them. Almost. Then I remembered sleeved he and smiled. Not because revenge is sweet, sweet fades. Real revenge is structural. It is not screaming. It is not begging to be believed. It is watching the room finally understand what you already knew. It is your name restored, your authority written, your work protected, your silence replaced by evidence. Victor Langford used AI language to steal my presentation. He copied my slides, copied my charts, copied my strategy, copied everything except the one thing he needed: understanding. And that is the part thieves always forget. They can steal the deck. They can steal the title slide. They can even steal the applause for a while. But sooner or later, every thief reaches the slide they never created. And when the room says, "Explain it," the presentation ends, and the truth begins. Thank you for watching. If this story kept you hooked, check out the other videos on this channel. There are more stories of betrayal, revenge, karma, and quiet justice waiting for you. And if you believe stolen credit always leaves fingerprints, make sure you subscribe before you go.